So this is a presentation about Woodfordia's BioDiscovery project. So what it is, I'm Sandra, I work for, I'm an environmental projects officer for Woodfordia. So we've got a grant from the Queensland Government, and it basically covers the citizen science component of looking for biodiversity on this place, because for the past 25 years or so we've been planting trees. As you can see, everything you pretty much see on site is, an environment that's been created. It used to be a pretty cleared dairy farm. So over the time of planting festivals every year, people have come and planted vegetation. And a lot of it has been specifically designed, especially the butterfly walk, which we'll go after this to have a look at what's there. Basically, Helen Schwenke and some other key people, Helen will be coming in later as well to give presentations, but it was all geared towards having plants specifically to feed wildlife, specifically the invertebrates, because they're the lower food chain animals that then feed birds and everything else, and frogs and everything else above that. So it's very essential to set up this ecosystem from the ground up. So basically this project is, Woodfordia's BioDiscovery project, and that just talks basically about that. And that's a screenshot from the project on iNaturalist. So this presentation will focus really on how to use iNaturalist as a citizen science tool to get you guys submitting data during bush time. So any creature you find, any plant you find interesting, as soon as you put it through the app, it will show up on this project. And you can see here we have, I should probably use this little thing. We have 1,745, probably more observations now, because we've been submitting on the last few days as well. And this is 655 species so far, and there are 319 people in the community, a naturalist community, identifying organisms that we submit. And you can do this without the project, as in your data that you submit will just go through from your account. But because I've set it up as a geographical area, you don't have to do anything like try to sign up to the project or anything like that. It will go automatically, just geographically, by mapping the organisms. It will basically just be updated every time to this project as well. So it's really cool, really easy. And there's 80 people that have submitted so far, 80 patrons or people that come on site, probably mostly myself and a friend that are obsessed, and now Gaffion, my intern, is also obsessed, so there'll be a lot of just our data in there. But I really encourage you to, just to have fun with it as well. So that's just to show you that these are the findings so far. So this is where organisms have been put in. So it maps it out. So it's like a geospatial database as well, which is really awesome because we know what occurs at a specific time of the year, at a specific date. Say climate, really does cause havoc, which it will. What disappears? When we have that data, we can know in the future what was once here, what can we recover, what was gone, what's sensitive. So you can do all kinds of scientific studies as a result based on this data. Did that go forward? No. So basically, iNaturalist, the app, it's like a community-based citizen. They call it citizen science now, where anything you do as a contributor to any scientific research makes you automatically a citizen scientist. So in Australia specifically, I should say it was it's created by the California Academy of Sciences and National Geographic. So it's a free platform that you download onto your phone, and you can also use it on the website and upload your findings from there. If you have a camera, let's say, and you don't have a phone, works just as well. So in Australia, we've now got, which is really cool, so Australia has, every country that contributes has its own data set, which is really cool. So in 40,000 species are observed in Australia so far, which is really nice. I think I've got it. So it is crowdsourced biodiversity recording ID and mapping tool. And you can put in, I'll go ahead of myself, but you can put in any data pretty much from photos to sound recordings. So we've got basically, the whole idea of it for these guys when they were setting it up was to connect people with nature, providing valuable research data, which they didn't really have, I don't think, at the beginning. They didn't, it keeps evolving. It keeps evolving, and to the point where you can literally take a photo of something that suggests what it might be, which is quite poor for Australia yet. But the more people submit things and people identify things, the AI will actually pick up on and recognize things for you. And that way you learn really quickly as well, because you go, oh, I can tell this looks exactly like this creature, so I'm going to press on that one. So it's like a really cool learning tool of like what have we got in the environment, what did I find? So, basically, to install the app, it's pretty simple. You go to your Android Google Play, or you go on Apple's App Store, and you can find it. It's for free. Just type in iNaturalist. So that's pretty simple. And the whole idea is that you record your observations. So take a photo of, say, a caterpillar, you share it through iNaturalist, and people will try, and if you don't have the right name, which you don't have to have, and even if you're so confused about what it is, you can just say life form. As long as you've got something in there, that allows others to be interested in it. Otherwise, if you've just got nothing selected, it's kind of like people just don't look at it. So if you want people to be engaging your observations, your photos, then you need to sort of like write anything down. Even if you get it wrong, it doesn't matter. It's not about getting it right or trying to figure out. I went through a stage where I used to try and research the organism and find out the name, but now I'm like, no, this is now, let's let other people do that, because it takes ages if you don't know as well. But it is good if you have your own initiative going, well, I want to find that, I want to find that myself. So that is good too. Like, I'm not discouraging you to not try and, discover your own, find out what it is for yourself, because you can find amazing things online these days, and you can literally just type into Google the description of what the organism looks like, and sometimes it will come up as an image because someone else has already put that image up. So, but normally people will try to identify it at least to a genus level, if not just family, sometimes species if you're lucky. And if I think it has to be like, if 3 people give an ID and 2 of them have the same name, it becomes research grade. So it means really nothing. It just means that the community agrees, so it's probably this species, which is really cool as well, because then that moves into the area of citizen scientists that are doing research, being able to get that from the Atlas of Living Australia. So the moment it becomes research grade, it goes into Atlas. So now it becomes a biodiversity researchable data. So yeah, so that goes into Atlas of Living Australia. And I won't go through this very much because you can see it from the pictures. So when you sign up, it basically, you get an observation, like you go and take photos. It's better to sign up, you can use it without, but it's not going to give you the same effect. So it goes through your email, so it's connected to you. And you can choose, all the settings so you don't get notifications and stuff. You can make it as sort of silent on your phone as possible. So you just let it go through that process when you first get the app. Because I don't get notifications or anything, so you don't get people identifying it and you getting notified, because I know how annoying that can be with all these apps that we have. So you can totally switch it off and only engage it when you want to. And you can also take photos through it or through your phone first. So I've got like 40,000 photos or so at the moment on my phone. And most of them are of organisms. So I haven't done them through the app. If you know what I mean, it basically uses your phone's camera to take it straight up and then you upload it. But if you're offline, if you don't have access to the internet or to your phone reception signal, then there's no point in trying to take it through that. You might as well take it as a photo and upload it. But for some people that are really keen, they'll go straight up because it's faster. So there's all these options you have. But basically, you take a photo, it maps it for you. I don't know what all these mean. I don't know why there's a printer there. I should read it. Okay, so who you are, that's your setup. Where you saw it, saw the organism, that will map it automatically. What is it that you saw? That's when people start getting engaged in it. Or you can just choose it from the drop-down menu. It will also come up with a timestamp, so make sure your geo services, or whatever it's called, like location services, are turned on for the app and for your camera on your phone. Because without it, you'll have to try and find on the map where you've been, and that's really difficult. But usually it's just got the coordinates right there. And it doesn't mean that you're always being seen where you go, because I know a lot of people are like, I don't want people to know where I've been. Do you know what I mean? So it's really more about just having it set for your camera and your app, but not some phones have it where it's like the phone basically goes with you and gets you, and all the apps are fed all your info. So you can just set that up for yourself. When you saw it, evidence of what you saw. So evidence might include not just a photo of the organism, but its poo or its, scales or bird feathers, anything that's biological, and you're like, oh, what's that? You can take a photo of it and put it on iNaturalist. Sound as well. So you can record a frog or a bird and put it through. So the data is and soon they're going to be adding video as well, so you can upload a video. So it's getting better and better with time. So how to use it? Because this is important, and the good thing is Gefjon and I, because Gefjon created the presentation and I just went through it, so thank you Gefjon for doing that. It's really nicely presented, I feel. But she's also gone through the steps of how to sign in and how to do everything, because it's quite simple, but it's so much easier if someone just shows it to you. And at the same time, Android and iPhone are a little bit different, but in the end it's all the same. It's just like extra step in the Android. So basically you sign up to access various features like joining a project or making your own guides. So you can literally create and contribute to the community by creating a guide for that specific organism. So not only accessing guides that people have already designed and done and put up, you can make your own. So you can go around and make it like, that every creature you find, you decide to make a guide if it's not already up there. So you can create how to identify that animal, like, where it lives, look it up and like do a little write-up for it, which is really cool as well. Could be a whole school project really, and you can view messages from people identifying for you, and I think messages goes even deeper where people like write to you, but once again you can turn that off and not have that function on. So that's why you would sign up to it. And then you turn your phone's location services and camera, as I said, for iNaturalist as well. That's in your security settings for your phone. And basically we'll ask you for permission to access your devices, photo library, camera and location, which is really great, and I highly recommend allowing that because that's the fastest way to get things going. And basically you observe. So all observe means is your observation is the organism you're observing. That's all that means, is just the language for the app. So make an observation and you can just tap that. I think on iPhone make an observation or plus sign depending on your phone. You'll see it. It's really simple. There's nothing to it. And then you take a pic with iNaturalist or choose media type from your phone that you've already recorded. And that could be, as I said, a photo or recording of a sound, or you can record it as you go. Hello.
There you go.
And you can add multiple pics and pieces of that media to an observation. And then you basically finalize your observation. And all that means you can add notes, you can edit it, you can put, choose what you might have seen by a drop-down menu and submit to iNaturalist. And then the app will automatically attribute your current location, time, and of observation. So that's really cool, because you don't have to do anything other than upload the pic. And you can use, it will also, as I said, if you've got geo services turned on, it will have the photos data already in there, so you don't have to try and play around with the map. And you can always change all of that data as well. So how to use it? We're still on that. Press the green tick or share button to submit the observation, and you can edit it. These are just really quickly, basically, I just took, because you can kind of look it up online and it will show you how to do it. So that's just Android, so there's a plus sign. And in iPhone, we have observe just there. That's the only difference between the apps. They all go through the same process. And then when you in Android, it says sync observation. And mind you, this changes as they keep updating the app. So it might be different terminology later, but it's pretty straightforward. So you can sync an observation on an Android, and then it said here upload, but now I've got it on my phone, so the newer phones have share. So as I said, they upgrade this app. So just to go through photos, we took screenshots. Gefjon and I, because she's got an Android and I've got an iPhone. So we did like screenshots of the steps just to make it really clear. So basically, when I open my app, I go to, no, sorry, this is Android. When Gaffion opens her app, she's got a plus sign. So she knows that's the sign to, put up an observation. And then she gets like a thing say, choose your media. And you can record it or take a photo or choose an image from your library. And the next one is you select, you select your photos if there are photos. So she's taken photos of a magpie. Oh, why aren't you there? And then you can click on this, right? And it will give you a drop-down menu of what you might have seen. And then you can add notes, and that's really important. If you see a caterpillar, and you want to go for, it doesn't say caterpillars, right? It will say butterflies. So the family Lepidoptera. So what you need to do is when you click on it and you've got a caterpillar, you might want to say a juvenile or a caterpillar or notes that will help someone to get more out of it. I don't always do this, but it's a really useful thing to do. It's a very it just makes it more interactive, and if researchers do find that it's something that's new or endangered, or it's better for them to know where you found it. Like, and even though there's location and stuff, but say you found it in a very strange spot, you might want to describe it, or an animal's eating it, or something, or something's happening to it. It's just good to write it. You can just type it out, and then you can see that this comes up with Woodfordia's address. Everything's set correctly, tells you the time of observation. What did you see? Oh yeah, that one. So then she's clicked on that, what did you see? And a magpie came up. So the AI has recognized that it's a magpie. So she's chosen that. And she was really good and wrote notes, juvenile magpie. She's good with birds, so she was able to go into describing the entire, what it was and what it possibly could be and what it looked like. And so that's really awesome, what it was foraging on. So that's the kind of that's like high standard notes, I would say. That's great because it helps people to know what's going on. Now this is still Android, so you then upload. Did I show you how to... Yeah, edit observation, tick, that's it. I think you tick it, is that right? You just press the tick and then that uploads it. And then we've got uploading, so you wait a little while until the app, and then you can look at your observation and it will give you notes, and then you just scroll down and it gives you what sort of quality data it is. And once people get onto it, it will be, so if more people identify it than just Gaffion, it will become research grade because it's a magpie, it's common, so straight away, scientists know that magpie lives here. It lives everywhere. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Now let's go to iPhone. So when I open my app, I've got a little observe icon, and that's when I upload my photos. Then I've got to choose them, so I've gone for a duck. Yeah, a duck. Isn't it gorgeous? Yeah, it was so close. It was like a metre away. They were very tame at a Noosa somewhere. Everglades. And and basically you go next once you choose the amount of, you can choose up to 4 on iPhone. iPhone's got a very lower quality version of this app because it's been more developed on Android. So iPhone is kind of still lagging behind, but it's just as good for that simple sort of process. Android's got more things you can do on it. So, so what did you see? So you can, once again, that opens a drop-down menu, and I can choose from that. I chose just the type of duck that it might be, and then you share it. And then it syncs, and I think that's pretty much it. Yep. So I didn't go as far as Gaffion did, which was really nice that she's gone that extra step, but basically you can then look at your observation if you want to. I just share it and leave it and go for the next. And then you open your app a month later, and there's all these red marks saying people have been identifying your stuff. So you can go into it, you can agree, if you want a faster processing, you can agree with them. So often what I put down is wrong, and then someone else will put it a better suggestion because they're more of an expert, and you get oh wow, that's what it is, And over time, if you're seeing recurring creatures, you will learn their names and scientific names as well. So it's really cool, Latin names. So one thing that I can also add in the last 5 minutes is it's really good to take good photos. So fill the whole frame with your observation. You want as much detail as possible. You don't want some blurry, small thing. So make sure it's on focus. So the best way to focus, I think, well, on my phone, I just tap on the image itself and it focuses it. Avoid handling damaging any organisms. You want sufficient lighting, and you can actually use macro lenses, which I just bought one, and when we go out I can show you this particular one because it's Australian made and it's good for all phones and really good quality. And I often use a headlamp as well, just to get that extra oomph, especially if we're down at a butterfly walk in this dark weather. It's really lovely to bring a lamp and not overburden it, but you can change your settings and play around. It's really cool because then you just get more detail. So if you're into photography and you want good stuff, like I go for the extra oomph. Taking photos fit for ID. Take several photos from different angles. If you're photographing, like with this beetle, I took like its bum. It's not very easy to see, but I just sort of, I go wild. I take about 10, 15 photos. Most of them are not good by the end, like they're all shaky and stuff. But then I've got a few good ones that I can go, okay, fit for iNaturalist. With plants, photograph the leaves, flowers, and/or fruits. So it's much better than just a leaf, but if you can, even if it is a leaf, and you're like, what is this? Still recommend to put it up. And for small and difficult to focus objects, add background, example, a leaf, or even your hand. So Gaffion couldn't focus on this very thin, it's really hard for the camera to really focus on something that's little and thin. So you can put a background in and then you can focus, which is really cool. So that's like a trick. And of course, what not to do, you don't want to send this plant in because you can't see it. And if you're really far away from it, you're not going to be able to see it either. So notes, it could be like a unique organism behavior, location in reference to other organisms, example, a fungi growing on a tree or near a tree. You can also record interactions, which is something we really want to do. So say you find a spider or an insect on a plant, and we're trying to get an iNaturalist to recognize how important it is, that connection, what plant is it on? Maybe not so much, well, even with hunting animals like spiders, like why is that spider choosing there? What insects are coming in for it to hunt? So you get this ecological view now, where your plant is the important part as well, not just the organism, because you're recognizing what's using what. So then you can kind of extrapolate it and go, well, I know that plant gets a lot of visitations from all kinds of organisms, and I'd love to see them in my home. And if I'm in the same geographical area, I can grow that plant. So you're feeding wildlife that way. So we can learn about what eats what, which is very unknown. And the more native species we're losing, we're not understanding what's happening for these organisms that might be becoming extinct, for example. I would suggest taking photos of both and uploading them separately, and then trying to ID both, and then we'll get a database of who's on who's eating who's using what. And also don't photograph weeds, because also we want to know their distribution, and also you might find insects eating them. That's a very good thing, because we're recognizing now that if an insect is not just using the plant for flying by and sitting on it, it could be eating it. That's a good thing, right? So we want to know what our native wildlife is, how it's responding to introduced species. So do photograph weeds. Don't worry about photographing your hands if you need. One good thing as well is if you don't have a ruler or anything like that with you and you want to show the size, I often put my finger next to it because that gives me a good, scale. A scale for what you're looking at. And if you do take photos of animals in the zoo or like captive or cultivated organisms, just mark it. So you can take a photo of it, but just tell in the notes that that was in someone's backyard, that was planted by someone or in a zoo. But don't photograph pets, houseplants or people. Upload other people's photos unless they are part of the same observation. I don't know how you would upload other people's photos unless they send it to you and then they probably lose the geodata, so I don't know how that works. And basically, there's tons, if someone wants to take a photo of this and maybe just even read just for the titles, that's all the how-tos, everything about iNaturalist, video guides on how to use it. But the best way to learn it is to just try it. Try it, and we'll be here. There's a few of us that know how to use it now. So if you guys go out with us, we'll help you use your app, because that will be awesome. Because then at the end of Bushtime, you'll get to see your photos on the iNaturalist BioDiscovery, Woodfordia's BioDiscovery page. last year at Bushtime, someone had a tiny little, on their tent, between the tent and the fly, they had a little, not a possum, a tiny glider, feather-tailed glider. And I only found out about it by going through people's photos, just because it shows you all the data. And I was like, oh my God! And they wrote a little note saying this little glider was living with us in our tent, pretty much. So that's really warms your heart, you know, like those wildlife interactions. And I didn't put a thank you slide, but thank you. So that's pretty much it. We're on time, which is unbelievably good with all the hiccups we've had. Yeah, questions?
Question. There are cases where, I just can't take a photo because it's too far away or I don't have a camera with me. And that happened once when I saw a bird, which I thought was falcon, but when I looked closer, it doesn't have a falcon's beak. And when I looked through all the bird books, couldn't find it. And then I remembered I had a brochure from India when I visited a nature reserve, and there it was.
Wow.
It was
Is it a migratory species?
Sorry?
Is it a migratory bird? Did you find out from the book?
It would be, yeah. Because it was an oriental pigeon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So if you don't have
in that case, then there's a photo in the brochure, so that would be somebody else's photo. So can I download that or upload that?
You know, there's possibility on the iNaturalist, once again, more on the website or on an Android phone, where there's more capabilities. So the question is, if you don't know you can't get a photo of a bird up in the tree, if you can find the photo of it later, can you use it? And I actually don't know. What I would suggest is that I have a feeling you can upload extra photos in the notes, that maybe Android has that capacity, or even on the website. Yeah, or even write a reference. So you can write in your notes what you... Yeah, that's hard
like
without
a photo
data.
from a book and
because it's reliant on an observation being uploaded straight up. I'm not sure actually. I think you can't. Probably can't, because then you're using other people's photos, and they might not want that from a book, even though it's for good reason. Do you know what I mean? You'd have to probably email the author. It'd have to be, and I think that's why they may be saying don't use other people's photos. So
or maybe just put the
there is Have you been to the talks by Elliot? He does the bird talks with what's his name, with Roy Sonnenberg in the mornings, and he talks about how to use eBird data, and that's like another app, and it's just for birds, and you can then in there say what you've seen. So on that day you saw the bird, you can put in without any images or recordings. You can literally record it, and it starts building your list. So unfortunately sometimes you've got to use a multiple app thing for different organisms. Unless you can have, like I bought this little gadget where you can attach it to your phone and it does, it's a zoom on the phone, or hold really heavy binoculars and try to aim for the hole, and it never works. I sometimes spend hours really tired. I'm like, I've got to get a photo of this bad. Yeah, so, and it's a waste of time. But and recordings are really good, getting a recording. But of course the birds won't sing on demand, so. But a photo probably by someone else they're saying don't use, so I'd stick with that. Follow the rules. Thank you. Yeah, so are there any other questions before we move on?
Would things in the lake be considered in captivity? Or?
No, because we've added natural species, but I would write in the notes that it was a man-made lake and that species were introduced. Because, frogs and stuff come, and that's because there's a bit of water. If you actually introduce... fish is hard because we literally put the fish in there, but frogs come because there's water. That's a different point of, you know what I mean? So now those species occur there, but they weren't introduced. So if it's a fish that's been deliberately added, I would write those notes. When it comes to the frogs and insects, I would just leave it. Or you can still write if you wanted to that this is a man-made structure. Yep, any other questions? No? Cool, well, it's 5 past, and I think whoever's going to come, who wants to come for our first biodiscovery adventure? Cool, excellent. So what we'll do is we'll gather our stuff. Make sure you take your water with you. hats. There are ticks about because of the rain, so I would highly recommend either, if you spray yourself too much, then you'll lose, the insects will run away. So if you can, we might get a bit of mozzie situation out there. But you know, like if you feel like going to the campsite, like we can go up there, it's closer to where everyone's camping, so go and get your clothes maybe or something on so that you don't get, you know, hammered by mosquitoes or ticks. Ticks are not very common, but we have had incidences. So I'm just warning you that, you know, to check yourself afterwards. What else do we need? Phones. If you've got head torches, that'll be good. That's pretty much it. So how about we give ourselves a few minutes and just regroup. I'll just grab my stuff and then we'll go to the butterfly walk. Thank you for coming. See you guys.